Welcome to another week of This is the Word, a devotional from mine to yours. Just processing as the Lord is teaching me, just as I read. I read in 4 different places every day, and I try to think of one. I try to look for one thing that the Holy Spirit is teaching out of all 4 of those that I can think about and meditate throughout the day. This morning, just blown away. 2 Corinthians chapter 6 was in my reading plan this morning, and I was just struck with this contrast. Verse 1 of chapter 6 says, "We appeal to you, Paul, not to receive the grace of God in vain." And that idea that you can receive the grace of God and it be worthless, that scares me to death. And when you think of, I built this thing, but I spent all these hours, all this time in a thing, but it was vain because it didn't work out. It didn't go anywhere. It didn't produce what I wanted it to. It fell apart. I had to tear it down or whatever, right? I put all this work all these hours in a work project only for the company to rethink their position and go in a different direction. I put all this time in a resume only for the employer to ignore me. Whatever it might be, we do these things, but it turns out to be in vain. And we can do that with the gospel. That just radically gets me. How do I know that I'm not receiving the gospel in vain? Which just means I'm believing the gospel, but it's worthless. And the reason it's worthless is because it's not going beyond my mind. It's not going into my heart. It's not changing my life. But look at this list. Just to read this list is all I want to do this morning, and to think, man, God, would you not allow the gospel to be vain in my life like this? Like this. Look at this list. It says in verse 4, "But as servants of God, we commend ourselves in every way, by great endurance, in afflictions, hardship, calamities, beating, imprisonments, riots, labors, sleepless nights, hunger, by purity, knowledge, patience, kindness, the Holy Spirit, genuine love, by truthful speech, the power of God, with the weapons of righteousness for the right hand and for the left, through honor and dishonor, through slander and praise, treated as impostors, yet are true, as unknown, yet well known, as dying, yet behold, we live, as punished, and yet not killed, as sorrowful, yet always rejoicing, as poor, yet making many rich, as having nothing, yet possessing everything." Gosh. Not making the gospel vain by having a life that it's demonstrated in all of those ways. And notice that the first category was in hardship. The second category was in character and integrity and the heart, kindness, gentleness, the fruit of the Spirit, life with the Holy Spirit. And then the third part is just circumstances around you. Each of these ways, the gospel deepening so that I'm not receiving the gospel in vain. It's an amazing list. At the end of my life, I would love for a list like that to be connected with the words that Mark South did not receive the gospel in vain, but it worked its way out in every part of his life. By God's grace. See you next time.